Have you ever had a moment that divided your entire life into before and after? A single night that changed everything you thought you knew about yourself, about someone else, about what's possible when two people stop pretending? This is that story. My name is Alex, and for 6 months, I lived with the one person I never should have fallen for, my straight roommate, Jordan. Or at least I thought he was straight. We all make assumptions, don't we? We see what we expect to see, hear what we're conditioned to hear, and build entire worlds on foundations of probably and most likely. But sometimes, just sometimes, the universe has other plans. This is the story of one October night when Jordan fell asleep in a way that shattered every assumption I'd ever made. It's about the conversations we have at 3 in the morning when our defenses are down. It's about the courage it takes to be honest when honesty feels like jumping off a cliff. And it's about discovering that the person you've been hiding your feelings from has been hiding the exact same thing from you. So dim the lights, get comfortable, and let me take you back to the beginning, to the day a stranger with ocean blue eyes knocked on my apartment door and asked if the room was still available. Said yes, and my life was never the same. The apartment smelled like fresh paint and broken promises when I first moved in. My ex David had left 3 weeks earlier, taking half the furniture and all of my trust in relationships with him. The second bedroom sat empty, a constant reminder of plans that had crumbled like old paper. I posted the room listing on a Tuesday. By Wednesday, my phone was buzzing with responses, but none of them felt right. Too many questions, too many red flags, too many people who seemed like they'd throw parties at 2 a.m. or leave dishes in the sink for weeks. Then Jordan messaged me. His text was simple. Still available? I'm quiet, clean, and I can move in this weekend. Recent grad, work in graphic design. Here's my Instagram if you want to check me out first. I clicked the link, and my breath caught. Jordan wasn't just handsome. He was the kind of beautiful that made you forget what you were about to say. Sandy blonde hair that looked effortlessly tousled, like he'd just come from the beach. Eyes the color of the ocean on a clear day, that impossible blue-green that shifts in the light. A jawline that could cut glass, and a smile that seemed to hold secrets. But it was the photos themselves that sold me. Jordan volunteering at an animal shelter. Jordan hiking with friends. Jordan at a coffee shop with a sketchbook, completely absorbed in his work. There was something genuine about him, something real in a world of carefully curated personas. I told myself I was being practical. He seemed responsible, employed, mature. The fact that he was gorgeous was just unfortunate, irrelevant. I could handle living with an attractive guy. I was an adult. I'd been out since college. I knew how to keep my feelings in check. I scheduled him to come see the place that Friday. When Jordan knocked on my door at exactly 6 p.m., I'd spent the entire day cleaning. Not because I'm normally messy, I'm not, but because I needed to distract myself from the nervous energy thrumming through my veins. I opened the door, and there he was. Somehow even better in person, wearing a worn denim jacket over a white t-shirt, dark jeans, and Converse that had seen better days. He had a canvas messenger bag slung over one shoulder and that same easy smile from his photos. "Alex?" he asked, extending his hand. "That's me," I managed, shaking his hand. His grip was warm and confident. "Come in. Welcome." Jordan stepped inside, and I watched him take in the space. The living room was modest, but cozy, a gray sectional sofa I'd saved for months to buy. A coffee table made from reclaimed wood, plants on every available surface because I'd developed a borderline obsessive hobby during the breakup. Large windows let in the golden October light, making everything glow. "This is really nice," Jordan said, and he sounded like he meant it. "Great light. I bet it's perfect in the mornings." "It is," I said. "I'm usually up early, so I catch the sunrise pretty often." Coffee. "I'd love some." As I made us both coffee black for him, oat milk and honey for me, we fell into easy conversation. Jordan told me about his new job at a boutique design studio in the Arts District. He'd just moved to the city from Portland, following a career opportunity and needing a fresh start after a long-term relationship ended. I was with someone for 4 years, he said, cradling his mug between his hands. We grew in different directions. She wanted to settle down in the suburbs, kids, the whole thing. I wanted, I don't know, something more, something different. I noticed how he spoke about his ex without bitterness, but with a certain wistfulness that I recognized. The tone of someone who'd loved deeply and lost it anyway. I get that, I said. My ex and I split a few months ago. Similar story, different details. Sometimes people just want different things. Exactly, Jordan said, meeting my eyes. For a moment, something passed between us, recognition, maybe. The unspoken understanding between two people who'd both had their hearts broken recently. I showed him the empty bedroom, and he loved it immediately. Large window, good closet space, enough room for a bed and a desk. We negotiated rent fair below market rate and, by the time he left an hour later, we'd shaken hands on a 6-month lease with a month-to-month option after that. Jordan moved in that Sunday. The first month was remarkably easy. Jordan was everything he'd promised, quiet, respectful of boundaries. He worked long hours at the studio, often coming home with his laptop and sketchpad to continue working at the kitchen table. I worked from home as a freelance writer, so I was around more. But we developed a comfortable rhythm. Mornings, we'd make coffee together, talking about our plans for the day. Evenings, if we were both home, we'd cook dinner. Jordan was an surprisingly good cook. He'd learned from his grandmother, he told me, and could make this incredible. Thai curry from scratch that tasted like it came from a restaurant. We started a tradition of Friday movie nights. Nothing planned, just whoever was home first would pick something. And we'd order takeout and sprawl on the couch with beer or wine. Jordan loved old films, Casablanca, Roman Holiday, The Philadelphia Story. I introduced him to modern queer cinema, Moonlight, Call Me By Your Name. Weekend, I've never seen anything like this, he said one night after we finished watching God's Own Country. His voice was quiet, almost reverent. It's so raw, real, too real, I asked, glancing at him. We were sitting close on the couch, closer than we usually did, and I could smell his calling something woody and clean. No, Jordan said, turning to look at me. Just real enough. I think that's what good art does, right? Shows us something true we didn't know how to see before. I felt something shift in that moment, like a door opening somewhere in my chest. This wasn't just an attractive roommate I was living with. This was someone I genuinely liked. Someone whose mind worked in interesting ways, whose company I craved. That was dangerous. I started noticing things I shouldn't have noticed. The way Jordan's hair curled slightly at the nape of his neck when it got too long. How he'd bite his lower lip when he was concentrating on a design. The constellation of freckles across his shoulders that I'd glimpsed when he came out of the shower once in just a towel. Apologizing profusely for forgetting his clothes. It's fine, I'd said, keeping my eyes firmly on my laptop screen. No worries. But I'd thought about those freckles for days. We became friends, real friends. Jordan told me about his family in Oregon, his younger sister who was studying marine biology. His parents had been married for 30 years and still held hands at the dinner table. I told him about growing up in the Midwest, coming out to my parents at 19, the relief and terror of finally being honest about who I was. That takes courage, Jordan said one night over our third beer. We were sitting on the small balcony, watching the city lights twinkle below. I admire that about you. Being that honest with yourself and everyone else. It wasn't courage, I said. It was necessity. I couldn't pretend anymore. It was killing me slowly, from the inside out. Jordan was quiet for a long moment. What did that feel like? The pretending. I thought about how to answer. Like wearing clothes that don't fit. Like everyone's speaking a language you learned but can't quite speak fluently. Like you're always performing, always aware of the gap between who you are and who everyone thinks you are. He nodded slowly, and something in his expression made me wonder if he understood more than he was saying. But then he smiled and changed the subject, and the moment passed. By month 3, I was in trouble. I'd catch myself watching Jordan when he wasn't looking, the way he'd stretch in the morning. Arms overhead, revealing a strip of toned stomach. The way he'd run his hands through his hair when he was frustrated with a design. The sound of his laugh, warm and genuine and uninhibited. I reminded myself daily, he's straight. He had a girlfriend for 4 years. He's your roommate. This can't happen. This won't happen. But the heart doesn't care much for logic. October arrived with cool breezes and amber leaves. Jordan had been living with me for almost 6 months. We'd settled into something that felt less like roommates and more like something else. Something I didn't have a name for. We weren't dating, obviously, but we spent almost all our free time together. We texted throughout the day, stupid memes, photos of interesting things we'd seen, random thoughts. When I went to the farmer's market on Saturday mornings, I'd buy the sourdough bread Jordan loved. When he went to the bookstore, he'd come home with novels he thought I'd enjoy. My friends started to ask questions. "So you're basically dating your straight roommate?" my best friend Marcus said over drinks one Thursday. "Except without the sex. We're friends," I insisted. "Alex, honey, friends don't look at each other the way you two do." "What way?" "Like you're the only two people in the room. Like you're orbiting each other. Like there's this invisible thread connecting you, and everyone else can see it except you." I wanted to deny it, but I couldn't, because Marcus was right. Whatever was happening between Jordan and me had grown beyond simple friendship. Even if neither of us acknowledged it, that Friday night, October 15th, a date burned into my memory. Jordan came home from work looking exhausted. There'd been a crisis at the studio, a major client demanding revisions, and he'd been there until almost 11 p.m. "You look dead on your feet," I said when he walked in, dropping his bag by the door. "I feel dead everywhere," he said, managing a weak smile. "I'm going to take a hot shower and probably pass out immediately." "They made pasta," I offered. "It's in the fridge if you want some. You're the best," he said. And the warmth in his voice made my chest ache. I was already in bed when I heard him finish his shower. My room was dark except for the glow of my Kindle. I was reading but not retaining anything, my mind wandering to the man in the next room. Then I heard my door creak open. "Alex." Jordan's voice was soft in the darkness. "You still awake?" "Yeah," I said, sitting up. "Everything okay?" He stood in my doorway, backlit by the hallway light, wearing only pajama pants. His hair was still damp from the shower, and he looked vulnerable in a way I'd never seen before.
Can I?
"This is going to sound weird, but can I sleep in here tonight?" he asked. "I don't want to be alone right now." My heart stopped, then started again, racing. "Of course, yeah. Come in." Jordan padded across the room and climbed into my bed, my queen-size bed that suddenly felt both too big and too small. He settled on top of the covers, lying on his back, staring at the ceiling. "Long day?" I asked quietly. "Long 6 months," he said. "Long year. Long. I don't know. Everything feels long lately." I didn't know what to say, so I just waited. "Do you ever feel like you're living someone else's life?" Jordan asked after a moment. "Like you made all these choices based on who you thought you were supposed to be, and then you wake up one day and realize you don't recognize yourself anymore." "Every day before I came out," I said honestly. He turned his head to look at me. In the dim light, his eyes were darker than usual, serious. "What changed?" "I stopped being able to live with the lie," I said. "I stopped being able to pretend." Jordan held my gaze for a long moment, and I saw something in his expression: fear, maybe, or longing, or both. Then he turned back to stare at the ceiling. "I'm glad you moved in," he said softly. "I'm glad I met you." "Me too," I whispered. We lay there in silence, and gradually I heard his breathing deepen and slow. He'd fallen asleep, not under the covers, just lying there on top of them, his hand resting near mine on the mattress, close enough that I could feel the warmth of his skin without actually touching. I should have woken him up, sent him back to his room, but I couldn't. Instead, I watched him sleep, his face peaceful and unguarded, and I let myself feel everything I'd been trying not to feel for 6 months. I was in love with my straight roommate, and I had absolutely no idea what to do about it. What happens next? Does Jordan wake up and realize where he is? What did he really mean by those questions about living someone else's life? Subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss where everything. I thought I knew about Jordan and about myself gets turned completely upside down, trust me, you won't want to miss what happens next. I woke to sunlight streaming through my window, the unfamiliar weight of another person in my bed. For a disoriented moment, I thought I was dreaming. Then reality crashed back. Jordan, my roommate, had asked to sleep in my room last night. I turned my head carefully, not wanting to wake him, except he was already awake. And he was watching me. "Morning," Jordan said softly, his voice still rough with sleep. He hadn't moved from his position on top of the covers, but somehow, during the night, we'd shifted closer. His hand was now actually touching mine, our fingers barely overlapping. "Morning," I managed, hyper-aware of every point of contact between us. "How'd you sleep?" "Better than I have in months," he said. And there was something in his eyes, something raw and honest, that made my breath catch. "Thank you for letting me stay anytime," I said. And I meant it. "You know you're always welcome." Jordan smiled, but it didn't quite reach his eyes. He sat up slowly, running a hand through his sleep mussed hair. "I should probably go to my own room." I don't want to make things weird." "It's not weird," I said, perhaps too quickly. "I mean, unless you feel weird about it?" "No," he said, turning to look at me. "I don't feel weird. I don't know what I feel, actually. That's the problem." Before I could ask what he meant, he stood up and headed for the door, but he paused in the doorway, his hand on the frame, his back to me. "Alex," he said quietly, "those movies we've been watching, the queer films, can I ask you something about them?" "Of course. When you watch them, do you see yourself? In the characters, I mean?" My heart started racing. "Sometimes," I said carefully. "When they're well written, when they feel true." "Why?" Jordan was quiet for so long I thought he might not answer. "Then, I think I might see myself too. And I don't know what that means." He left before I could respond, closing the door softly behind him. I lay there, staring at the ceiling, my mind reeling. What had just happened? What was Jordan trying to tell me? Was he questioning his sexuality? Or was I reading too much into everything because of my own feelings? I needed to be careful. I needed to not let hope cloud my judgment. But hope, I was learning, is a stubborn reckless. The next few days were strange. Jordan and I circled each other like planets caught in each other's gravity, drawn together but afraid of collision. We still had our morning coffees, our evening conversations. But there was a new tension humming beneath everything we said. I caught him looking at me sometimes, his gaze intense and searching, like he was trying to figure out a puzzle he couldn't quite solve. And I'm sure he caught me looking right back. On Tuesday evening, I came home from a coffee shop where I'd been working to find Jordan in the living room, surrounded by sketchbooks and loose papers. He was working on something, his brow furrowed in concentration, completely absorbed. "What are you designing?" I asked, setting down my laptop bag. He looked up, startled, then smiled. "Come see." I walked over and looked down at the sketches spread across the coffee table. They were beautiful illustrations for what looked like a children's book, featuring two young boys going on adventures together, building forts, exploring forests, sharing secrets under starlit skies. "This is incredible," I said honestly. "Is this for a client?" "No," Jordan said quietly. "It's personal. Something I've been thinking about for a while. A story about friendship and finding out who you really are. About being brave enough to be honest, even when it's scary." I looked at him, and he looked back, and something passed between us. An understanding. An acknowledgement of something neither of us was quite ready to say out loud. "I think that's a story worth telling," I said softly. "Yeah," Jordan said. "Me too." That night, we ordered Thai food and watched another movie, Brokeback Mountain, which I'd suggested hesitantly, unsure if it was too much, too obvious. But Jordan had agreed immediately. We sat closer than usual on the couch, our thighs touching, sharing a blanket even though the apartment was warm. When the most emotional scenes played out on screen, I felt Jordan tense beside me, his breathing shallow. During the final heartbreaking moments of the film, I felt his hand find mine under the blanket. His fingers threaded through mine, holding on tight. I didn't move. didn't breathe, just held his hand and felt the world tilt on its axis. The credits rolled. Neither of us moved. "I hate that ending," Jordan said finally, his voice thick. "I hate that they didn't get to be together, that they spent their whole lives hiding." "Me too," I whispered. "It doesn't have to be like that, though, right?" He turned to look at me, and his eyes were bright with unshed tears. "In real life, people can be brave. They can choose differently." "They can," I said. "But it takes courage, and it's scary as hell." "What if?" Jordan started, then stopped. His hand was still holding mine. "What if you've been lying to yourself for so long that you don't even know what the truth looks like anymore?" I squeezed his hand gently. "Then you start small. One truth at a time. One honest moment at a time. Until being honest feels more natural than lying." Jordan looked at our joined hands, then back at my face. "I think I've been lying to myself about something important. For a really long time, my heart was thundering so hard I was sure he could hear it." Yeah, he breathed. I think I might not be as straight as I thought I was." The words hung in the air between us, heavy with meaning and possibility. I didn't dare move, didn't dare hope too much. "How long have you been thinking about this?" I asked gently. "Since I moved in," Jordan admitted. "Since I met you." Maybe before that, honestly, but I was too scared to look at it directly. Too scared of what it meant, and now I'm tired of being scared, he said. "I'm tired of pretending. I'm tired of lying to myself about what I feel." "What do you feel?" I asked, barely breathing. Jordan lifted our joined hands, looking at them like they held the answer to every question he'd been asking. "I feel like maybe the reason none of my relationships with women ever worked is because I was always looking for something they couldn't give me. I feel like maybe I've been running from myself my whole life. And I feel like maybe I stopped running when I met you." "Jordan," I whispered. His name, a prayer, and a question. "I'm scared," he said. "I'm so scared, Alex. I don't know how to do this. I don't know what I'm doing, but I know that when I'm with you, I feel more myself than I've ever felt before. And that has to mean something, right?" "It means everything," I said. We sat there for a long moment. Hands clasped, hearts racing, the air between us electric with possibility. Jordan's eyes searched mine, looking for something, permission, maybe, or courage. Slowly, carefully, he leaned closer. I could feel his breath on my face, could see the flecks of gold in his blue eyes, could smell his cologne mixed with something uniquely him. "Is this okay?" he whispered, his lips inches from mine. I breathed. He closed the distance until we were so close I could feel the heat of his skin, until I could count his eyelashes, until his phone rang. Shattering the moment like glass, we pulled apart, both breathing hard. Jordan fumbled for his phone on the coffee table, his hand shaking slightly. "It's my sister," he said, his voice rough. "I should. I told her I'd call her back earlier." "Yeah," I said, trying to get my racing heart under control. "Of course. Take it." Jordan stood up, running a hand through his hair, looking dazed. "I'm sorry. Don't be sorry," I said quickly. "It's okay. We have time." He looked at me for a long moment, something soft and grateful in his expression, then answered the phone and walked to his room. I sat on the couch, my head spinning, my lips still tingling from the kiss that almost was. What had just happened? Had Jordan really just come out to me? Had we really almost kissed? And what did this mean for us? For our friendship? For our living situation? I didn't have answers, but for the first time in 6 months, I had hope real. Tangible hope that maybe, just maybe, the feelings I'd been trying so hard to suppress weren't one-sided after all. Jordan came back about 20 minutes later, looking sheepish. "Sorry about that. My sister's going through a breakup and needed to vent." "It's okay," I said. "Is she all right?" "She will be," Jordan said, sitting back down on the couch. Not quite as close as before, but close enough that I could feel the warmth of him. "She's resilient. Stronger than me, honestly." "I doubt that," I said. Jordan looked at me, and there was vulnerability in his eyes that made my chest ache. I meant what I said before, about being tired of pretending, about what I feel, I know, I said softly. But I need to be honest about where I am. I'm still figuring this out. I've spent 28 years thinking I was one thing, and now I'm realizing I might be something else entirely. And it's a lot. I understand, I said, and I did. I remembered my own journey, the confusion and fear and eventual relief of accepting who I was. You don't have to have everything figured out right now. You can take your time. Thank you, Jordan said, for being patient with me, for being you. We sat in comfortable silence for a while, both lost in our thoughts. Then Jordan stood up, stretching. I should probably get to bed, he said. Early meeting tomorrow. Yeah, I said, standing too. Me too. We stood there for a moment, neither of us quite willing to end the evening. Then Jordan stepped forward and pulled me into a hug. A real hug. Tight and warm and lasting longer than friendly hugs usually do. Good night, Alex, he murmured against my shoulder. Good night, Jordan, I said, breathing in the scent of him, memorizing the feel of his arms around me when we pulled apart. His hand lingered on my arm for a moment, his thumb brushing my skin. Then he smiled soft and a little shy and headed to his room. I went to bed that night with my mind racing and my heart full. We hadn't kissed. We hadn't made any promises or declarations. But something had shifted, some door had opened, and I could feel the future stretching out before us. Uncertain, but bright with possibility. At 3:17 a.m., I woke to a soft knock on my bedroom door. Alex. Jordan's voice was quiet. You awake? I am now, I said, sitting up and turning on my bedside lamp. Come in. Jordan entered, and I could see immediately that he hadn't been sleeping. He was wearing pajama pants and a t-shirt, his hair disheveled, his eyes troubled. Can't sleep? I asked. Can't stop thinking, he said, sitting on the edge of my bed. I keep running through my entire life looking at it differently, reframing everything. Like what? Like my best friend in high school, Marcus. How I used to get jealous when he'd date girls. I told myself it was because I was protective, but now I'm wondering if it was something else. He ran his hand through his hair. Or my college roommate, Dave. How I'd feel this weird pull toward him, this desire to be close to him all the time. I convinced myself it was just really strong friendship. Maybe it was, I offered gently. Or maybe I've been lying to myself for a decade, Jordan said. Maybe I've been so conditioned to be straight, to want what I was supposed to want, that I couldn't see what was right in front of me. I wanted to reach out, to comfort him. But I wasn't sure if that was what he needed right now. Can I ask you something? Jordan said, looking at me with those ocean blue eyes. Anything? When did you know? Like, really know you were gay? I thought back to those confusing, frightening, exhilarating teenage years. I was 15. There was this guy in my English class, and every time he walked into the room, it was like the air changed. I'd watch him. Find excuses to talk to him. Think about him constantly. And one day I realized this isn't what having a best friend feels like. This is what having a crush feels like. Were you scared? Terrified, I admitted. I grew up in a small Midwestern town. Being gay wasn't exactly celebrated. I spent 3 years knowing the truth, but too afraid to say it out loud. It was like carrying around this secret that was slowly eating me alive. What changed? I went to college. Met other queer people. Realized I wasn't alone, wasn't broken, wasn't wrong, and I decided that living honestly, even if it was hard, was better than living a comfortable lie. Jordan nodded slowly, processing this. Do you think? Is it possible to be attracted to both? To have genuinely loved my ex-girlfriend, but also feel this way about you? My heart skipped at his words. You mean bisexual? Yeah, is that a thing? Like, a real thing, not just confusion or experimentation. It's absolutely a real thing, I said firmly. Sexuality isn't binary. It's a spectrum. Some people are exclusively attracted to one gender. Some people are attracted to all genders. Some people fall somewhere in between. There's no wrong way to be. So I could have loved Sarah, my ex. And those feelings could have been real, but also have feelings for you, and those are real too. Exactly. Jordan let out a long breath, and I saw some of the tension leave his shoulders. That makes sense. That feels right. He looked at me. I did love Sarah, but something was always missing, and I could never figure out what. And then I met you, and it was like finding the missing piece I didn't know I was looking for. I couldn't help the smile that spread across my face. Jordan, I'm falling for you, he said, the words tumbling out in a rush. I've been falling for you since probably the second week I moved in. And I've been so scared and confused, and I didn't know what to do with these feelings. But I'm tired of running. I'm tired of pretending. I want to be honest, even if it's messy and complicated and I don't have everything figured out. I'm falling for you too, I said softly. I have been for months. Jordan's eyes widened. Really? Really? I confirmed. I tried so hard not to. You were my roommate. You were supposedly straight. It was impossible, but I couldn't help it. You're everything I didn't know I was looking for. He laughed, a sound of pure relief and joy. We're both idiots, aren't we? Pining for each other while living in the same apartment. Complete idiots, I agreed. Laughing too? The laughter faded, and we sat there looking at each other, the space between us charged with electricity. Jordan shifted closer, and I could feel my heart racing, could see his chest rising and falling with quick breaths. Can I? He started, then stopped. Would it be okay if I kissed you? For real this time? Please, I whispered. Jordan leaned in slowly, giving me every chance to pull away. But I didn't want to pull away. I'd been waiting for this moment for 6 months, dreaming about it, trying not to hope for it when his lips finally met mine. It was soft and tentative and absolutely perfect. The kiss was gentle at first, exploratory, both of us learning the shape and taste of each other. Then Jordan's hand came up to cut my face, his thumb brushing my cheekbone, and the kiss deepened. I felt him sigh against my mouth, felt the tension drain from his body as he melted into the moment. When we finally pulled apart, both breathing hard, Jordan rested his forehead against mine. Wow, he breathed. Yeah, I agreed, my heart soaring. Wow, that was... Jordan pulled back slightly to look at me, and his eyes were bright with wonder and something that looked like relief. I've never felt anything like that before. Not with anyone. Me neither, I admitted. And I've kissed quite a few people. Jordan laughed, then kissed me again, quicker this time, playful. Like he was testing out this new skill and finding he really enjoyed it. I think I could get addicted to this. I'm counting on it, I said, grinning. We spent the next hour just talking. Jordan lay down on my bed, and I lay beside him, and we talked about everything. His fears about coming out, about what his family would say, about whether he was doing this right, or if there even was a right way to do it. I think I need to tell my sister first, he said. We're close, and she's always been the person I could tell anything to. Well, almost anything. That sounds good, I said. Having support makes everything easier. What about us? Jordan asked, turning to look at me. What are we? What do we tell people? What do you want us to be? I asked carefully. Jordan was quiet for a moment, thinking, I want to try this. Really try. I want to date you. See where this goes. See if what I'm feeling is as real as it seems. Continue 10:56 a.m. it is, I said. I can promise you that much. Then let's do it, Jordan said, and his smile was radiant. Let's date. Let's be together. Let's figure this out as we go. I kissed him again, sealing the promise. Felt happier than I'd been in years. The next few weeks were like living in a dream. Jordan and I were together, actually together. It was simultaneously the easiest and most complicated thing I'd ever experienced. Easy because we already knew each other so well. Already had built a foundation of friendship and trust. Complicated because Jordan was navigating coming out while also being in his first relationship with a man. And that required patience and understanding from both of us. He told his sister first. over a video call while I waited anxiously in the living room. When he emerged from his bedroom 20 minutes later, his eyes were red, but he was smiling. She said she already suspected, Jordan said, laughing through tears. Apparently, I was never as subtle as I thought about looking at guys. She's happy for me. For us. I'm so glad, I said, pulling him into a hug. She wants to meet you properly, Jordan said. Told me not to mess this up because you seem like a keeper. Wise woman, your sister. Jordan's parents were harder. They weren't rejecting exactly, but they were confused and needed time to adjust. His dad asked a lot of questions about whether Jordan was sure, whether this was just a phase, whether maybe he was just confused after his breakup with Sarah. It hurt. Jordan admitted to me one night as we lay in bed together, his bed this time tangled up in each other. Hearing my dad question my feelings like they weren't valid, like I didn't know my own heart. Sorry, I said, running my fingers through his hair. That's one of the hardest parts of coming out. People acting like you don't know yourself. But I do know myself, Jordan said fiercely. For the first time in my life, I actually know myself. I know what I want. I know who I want. He kissed me softly. I want you. You have me, I promised. As October turned to November and then December, Jordan and I fell deeper into each other. We had our first official date dinner at a small Italian restaurant where we held hands across the table. Couldn't stop smiling. We had our first fight about something stupid, dishes or laundry. I can't even remember and learned how to communicate through conflict. We had quiet mornings, drinking coffee on the balcony, and late nights watching movies curled up together on the couch. We had stolen kisses in the kitchen while making dinner, and long conversations about our hopes and dreams and fears. Jordan introduced me to his friends from work. Nervous at first, but growing more confident when they all accepted us without question. I introduced him to Marcus, who pulled me aside at one point and said, "You were right to wait for him. He's worth it." We learned each other's bodies slowly, reverently. With Jordan being open about his inexperience and me being patient as we explored together, every touch was a discovery, every kiss a revelation. Jordan approached intimacy the way he approached everything, with his whole heart, holding nothing back. I never knew it could be like this. He whispered one night after we'd made love for the first time, both of us tangled in sheets in moonlight. This feeling of being completely yourself with someone else, of being seen and accepted exactly as you are. That's what love is supposed to feel like, I said, kissing his forehead. Love, Jordan repeated, testing out the word. Then he smiled. Yeah, I think that's what this is. I love you, Alex. I love you too, I said, and it was the easiest truth I'd ever spoken. Christmas came, and Jordan invited me to Oregon to meet his family, officially not as his roommate, but as his boyfriend. I was nervous, but Jordan held my hand on the plane and reminded me that we were in this together. His parents were awkward at first, but his mom made an effort, asking me about my work and my family. His dad thawed by the second day, especially after Jordan and I helped him fix a broken fence in the backyard, and we bonded over power tools and bad jokes. His sister, Emma, pulled me aside on Christmas Eve while Jordan was helping his mom in the kitchen. Thank you, she said simply. For what? For giving my brother permission to be himself, she said. I've known Jordan my whole life. I've never seen him this happy, this settled, like he finally fits in his own skin. He did that himself, I said. I just loved him through it. That's everything, Emma said, smiling. That's exactly what he needed. On New Year's Eve, Jordan and I stood on our balcony, watching fireworks paint the sky in brilliant colors. The city sparkled below us, and the air was cold, but we were warm, wrapped in blankets in each other. Can you believe it's been almost 9 months since I moved in? Jordan asked, his arms around me from behind, his chin resting on my shoulder. 9 months since you knocked on my door and changed my life, I said. Best decision I ever made, Jordan murmured, kissing my neck. Moving in with a stranger from the internet, I laughed. Could have gone very differently, but it didn't, Jordan said. It went exactly right. We went exactly right. As midnight approached, we counted down with the city, our voices joining thousands of others. When the clock struck 12, Jordan turned me around in his arms and kissed me deeply. Fireworks exploding overhead and around us. Happy New Year. Alex, he said against my lips. Happy New Year, Jordan, I said back. Here's to new beginnings. And to old friendships, he added. And to falling asleep next to you every night. And to whatever comes next. As long as we're together. A deal, I said. Sealing it with another kiss. I can't believe we're really doing this. Jordan stood in the middle of our new apartment, not the one we'd shared as roommates, but a new one we'd chosen together, a fresh start in a different neighborhood. Boxes were stacked everywhere. In our cat CS, we'd adopted 2 cats. An orange tabby named Mango and a black cat named Olive were exploring their new territory with great interest. Having second thoughts? I teased, wrapping my arms around him from behind. Not for a second, Jordan said, turning in my embrace to kiss me. I'm exactly where I want to be. It had been a year since that October night when Jordan fell asleep in my bed and everything changed. A year of growth and challenges and joy and love. Jordan had fully come out to his family, his friends, his coworkers, the world. He'd started a blog about his journey of self-discovery that had gained a surprising following, helping other people navigate their own questions about sexuality and identity. I'd published my first novel, a romance. Naturally inspired by our story, though different enough to protect our privacy. It had done well enough that I could actually call myself a working author now. We'd both changed, grown, become more fully ourselves. But through it all, we'd stayed anchored to each other, choosing each other every single day. What are you thinking about? Jordan asked, brushing a strand of hair from my forehead. How lucky I am, I said honestly. That you knocked on my door that day? That you took a chance on some random guy's apartment listing? That you were brave enough to be honest about who you are and what you felt? We both were. Jordan corrected gently. You taught me what courage looks like. You showed me that being honest, being vulnerable, being authentically yourself, that's not weakness. It's the bravest thing you can do. Look at you getting all philosophical, I said. But I was smiling. I learned from the best, Jordan said. Then he glanced around at the chaos of our new apartment. Want to christen the new place properly? With unpacking? I asked innocently. With unpacking later, Jordan corrected. Pulling me toward the bedroom, our bedroom. With our bed that we'd picked out together. In our apartment that we'd chosen together. In the life we were building together. And as we fell into bed, laughing and kissing and celebrating this new chapter, I thought about how much can change in a year. How one night, one honest conversation, one leap of faith can transform everything. I'd spent so long believing that love like this real, deep, transformative love wasn't meant for me, that I'd missed my chance, that the best had already come and gone. But I was wrong. The best was just beginning, and it started. The night my straight roommate, who turned out not to be so straight after all, fell asleep in my bed and woke up brave enough to be honest about who he really was. Sometimes the person you're looking for is already standing right in front of you. You just have to be brave enough to see them and brave enough to be seen.